Hello everyone and welcome to our channel. Last time we have spoken about how to write an effective paper. This time, as we promised, we will go and cover a little bit about how to write a thesis. A thesis is kind of big task really. It's not about a couple of weeks that you write a thesis as you will write a paper in few weeks, and this is much more complex, and because it's kind of a long shot, therefore there is much more likelihood that you will waste a lot of time, okay, in the thinking process, gathering information and putting in the right form to get up there. So in this video we are going to give you 3 parts. The first parts will explore a little bit about the kind of right mindset you need to put yourself in and do the right thing in order to get to the writing part of the thesis easily and go through it as easy as possible. And then the second part will give you some tips how to manage this many months that you will be writing your thesis. And then the last part, I will give you some tips about how I did it. Okay, so please hang on and we're going to cover them all. Thanks. Okay, now comes a visual thing. I have done a master thesis and I've done also a PhD thesis. And I'm going to show you how they look like. Yeah, this is how they look like. Yeah. This is the master thesis, about 115 pages, and this is the PhD thesis, which is about 287 pages. So it's quite big difference between the two. Yeah, and obviously I had a few years more when I wrote my PhD thesis, but you will be surprised. It took me almost the same amount of time to write both. Okay, and at the end of this video I'm going to tell you how I did it. Okay, for now I will say that in both cases when I arrived to write the thesis I had still enough energy, spare energy left. I was confident enough for my master thesis, and for my PhD thesis I was extremely confident. Okay, not because I had massive confidence to start with, but because I built up confidence little by little as I went through my PhD study. Obviously, my supervisor was very supportive, okay, but I had a lot of issue to solve out during the course of the 3 years, and I'm going to give you some general tips on what I have seen with myself and also with my peers that have been struggling writing their thesis. And one of these is about writing about other people's work. The literature review, it's something that sucks a lot of your time. Why? Well, for a number of reasons. First of all, because you are repeating it. You have already read these papers long ago, maybe 2-3 years ago. You read them, okay? So reading it again doesn't really help, okay? Then you may not know where the idea you have read is, in which paper is it, okay? And sometimes you don't even know where you put the paper. You don't remember where the paper is. So when I have been confronted with this issue very early on in my PhD, I was about 3 months or something like this, and I had to start doing a 6 months summary of my work. My supervisor was telling me this, so I immediately understood that oh my gosh, now I have to go and read it the paper again. Okay, so what I've done is I started from then populating a file in which I made a summary of each key paper I was reading. So I put, the name of the paper, the authors, where it was published, when, and, nowadays we have, DOI kit, which, gives you an easy way to track, okay, and to find a paper than, through your files. And then what I did is I kept populating this throughout my entire PhD. Even when I was writing my thesis, I had to go and read some extra papers, and I was still having it in this file. In the end, I had about probably 600-700 papers, if I remember on top of my head, and more than 400 were actually cited in my thesis. And, when I arrived to writing the thesis, I didn't struggle much in this part of the literature review. I just have to put them in the right place and making a nice flow of ideas to channel the reader into the topic that I was interested in during my PhD. But it wasn't such a big struggle. Okay. Then, another thing which I have done to boost my confidence and getting feedback from people in my department that I was working with, it's to present part of my work into the form of seminars, okay, talks and things like this. Okay, this allowed me to make summaries of pieces of what I was doing and present it to others to make sure that I was doing the right things. And in a few cases, they spotted some of the mistakes I was making, and that was really useful, okay, for me to know. So this thing of the talks, the seminars in my SEM department were like a springboard as well when I was going to then outside the university to conference, to national, international meeting to present my work. And again, then I was gathering feedbacks, suggestions, and those were enriching, okay, my work. And then writing papers, why not? Writing papers, as we will see in the last part of this video, is an extremely good indicator of how easy it will be for you to write your thesis. The more paper you write on your work before you actually submit the thesis, the easier it becomes to write your thesis. Okay, in the second part, we're going to have a look at some tips that I can give you from my experience. And it's important to get into the right mindset, having your body also prepared for endurance in order to get to the end of the writing process and have still a lot of energy and mental strength and hope in general left. So I've written 2 theses, 1 master, 1 PhD. And then after that I have been only involved in writing short papers, 8, 10, 15 pages maximum, but writing a book, it's a different story, okay, because it requires some sort of routine. Okay? When you're writing, hundreds of pages, then, it requires some routine. So the first thing to do is to, get yourself into some sort of routine. And I find that very useful to get up a little bit early. Why early? Because usually early there is not much happening. People, are rushing to work, and preparing for breakfast or doing other things. So you will not be disrupted too much. And that's why I like to get up early in the morning, overall in general. Then, if I'm doing something important, like, writing bits of, paper, or I'm writing a book, sometimes I even write some fiction, which I like a lot. And I go to bed before 11 p.m. Why is this? Well, because our best sleep, this is what, experts tell us. Our best sleep is between 11 and 2 a.m. in the morning. So 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. in the morning, it's when we get the most restoring sleep. So if you are at work still at 12, 1 o'clock, you miss a big shot. You can still sleep afterward, but it's not as restoring, the sleep you have, as is the one between 11 p.m. and 2 a.m. in the morning. Then, I have trying to have a regular pattern of my life, meals more or less at the same time, having some sport, having, some social activities. And, this is only for a few months, really. So a thesis can be written in a few months, up to, probably 5-6 months. It's not the end of the world that you have a kind of routine for a few months. You can make it. Second thing is that I noticed when I started writing fiction, where, I have to imagine, scenes and, how characters move the plate into the scene, one comes and then one go. I understood how much disruptive is when I get, a phone call, or, I get somebody walking in, into the room where I'm writing, this kind of breaks from the flow of thoughts are really disruptive. And then, I start investigating it. The thing is that research shows that the more we get into another thing, the more our brain suffers. Our brain is not really multitasking. When I'm doing this, which is, doing my thesis, I shouldn't be stopping and then doing another thing and then taking a phone call and then, getting a message from someone. I have to send a response. So trying to get as few as possible tasks per day and weed out all the rest. If you can, take a break from social media and things, or try to relegate it to a time during the day when you are tired already. You do those leisure things when you are tired. You reserve the good things, the good time, the good energy when you are more active to writing your thesis. Okay. Third thing is about finding a place which is suitable for you. There are some people that can do great work with a lot of noise around. I can sometimes, but it depends on what I'm doing. If I'm writing something, a bit inventive, I'm just I want pretty much peace and quiet. Okay, around me. Instead, if I'm doing other things, work in the lab, it can be as noisy as you like. Then trying to put, some hands to your day. Let's say you wake up at, 7 o'clock, by 8 o'clock, you start working. And by 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening, after having a few breaks in between, you stop. So, start to stop your day. It's really important for your health because you're going to be there for many months, So you don't want to, do only your PhD thesis. You should have other activities during the day. And so try to put an end to your day, especially because it's a routine. You can put an end to it. Yeah? Another thing is changing the position of your desk, and if you can change in your office, can have a great impact too. From time to time I do that too, even if I'm not writing a thesis or I'm not writing a book in general. I like to change, yeah, because my eyes should see different things around, even if I'm in the same place, maybe moving a few things around, so I don't get, kind of bored by that kind of things that my eyes see without thinking about it. Okay, then during the day I usually go walking for 2 times, sometimes even 3 times if the weather is good out. And walking for me, it's not only restoring my mental energy, but it's a time where I slow down, okay, and I actually get a lot of ideas. And when I go out and stay quite close to nature, go in a place where there are not many cars around, I actually have bubbles of ideas coming up in my mind, and I, kind of process them in a way that they become, something useful. So I go 2-3 times per day, 20 minutes, it's okay, and I get tons of other ideas. Okay? Then comes the food and drinks that we have during the day. As we said, this is kind of a marathon, really. So you need to make sure that there are no things upsetting, okay, your digestion. So if you put things like, too many coffees, too many tomato, and too much of hard cheese, these 3 things especially are really acid. And when they get into your stomach, they upset the digestion. You should really reduce them as much as you can. Coffee, there are coffee lovers out there, reduce it. Or substitute coffee for a few months with tea. Tea also gives you that boost, but on a longer period of time. Coffee, it's typically a few minutes, gives the boost, but tea gives you boost for half an hour or more. So, substitute it with tea. Tea, it's antioxidant and does not upset your stomach because it's not acid, it's basic. Hard cheese, try to avoid it because it's really, really acid, like tomatoes too, reduce it. And then in terms of things that you can do more or take more, well, surely water helps. Good water, if it's spring water, even better, helps. Fruit, vegetables helps a lot. And sport, this is another thing which I learned only 2 years ago. I was doing a lot of sport and I was working myself out really, especially with bike, going with a bicycle for hours, and I then discovered that, when you're already stressed out because of work, you shouldn't continue to stress your body. Why? Because when you're stressed out, you won't realize it easily, but the stress even experienced by your mind gets transferred to your body. So you're already, quite worked. And then you go outside thinking that, you are going to do something different. And you work your body hard, really. At the gym, that's not good. Nice, brisk walk, it's already good enough. And if you go in the gym because you like the gym, do some easy, kind of activities when you're there, at least for these few months that you're doing your PhD. And now it's time to go to the third part. Okay, now we are on the third part, and here we are going to give you big hope. Okay, and the big hope is this. This is my PhD thesis. Okay, it is. So, what I can tell you is that I have written these 287 pages within 2.5 months. You maybe not believe it. And I never been in the office after 5:30, 6 in the evening, and I was getting into the office around 8 o'clock. Okay? The only time I've been in the office till early in the morning, okay, it's when I printed the 3 copies of my PhD thesis. I started printing it at 8 o'clock in the evening when people have left the department, so I could use both printers, color and black and white. And I stayed there till almost 2 o'clock in the morning. Then by the time I got home on food, it was almost 3. That was the only time I stayed so late. Okay. If I did it, you can do it too. There are some reason why this happened. Okay. And going through this reason will take some time, obviously. And what we will do is we will have another video in which I will prepare material to show you how I compiled my thesis and how I made it within these 2.5 months. The anticipation I can give now are the following. First, I wrote 7 papers by the time I submitted my PhD thesis. So you can imagine that most of my thesis was almost written. I had to enlarge it and make it flow nicely. But I have already written my thesis by having published so many papers during those less than 3 years that I've been at the university. Second thing is that I had written this kind of file in which I put all the key reference with a summary, so it was easy for me to pick up pieces and compile the literature review. A third, but not less important than the others, it's my confidence, the motivation I had. I was full of confidence and I was very motivated till the last day. Okay, and therefore this was the extra boost I really have capitalized on to finish my thesis within 2.5 months and to graduate within 2 years and 10 months. So I graduated 2 months earlier than the 3rd year that usually takes in the UK to get your PhD done. So for the details, or how I did it, we're going to have another video in which I'm going to talk you through it step by step, and you will see. And hopefully you can do the same, or even better. Thank you for watching.